When referee Olegario Bencarenza blew the final whistle to end proceedings at the Stadio Olimpico on 16th of February 2011, the Giallorossi knew they were in trouble, as a 3-2 defeat on their home soil meant their chances of progressing to the Champions League quarter-final was on the line. For Mircea Lucescu and his boys, it was like a dream. But believe it or not, the long and tiring journey from Ukraine to Rome had not been a waste, as their valiant efforts saw them return to Donetsk with a win. Months ago, they had shocked the world when they topped Group E to reach the Champions League knockout stage for the first time in the club's history. Waiting for AS Roma at the Donbass Arena for the second leg of their round 16 tie, having won the first leg, there was a feeling of great expectancy in Donetsk that the pitmen can continue digging deeper into a glorious unknown. Roma parted ways with manager Claudio Ranieri, appointing Vincenzo Montella ahead of the return leg. The new coach was optimistic about overturning the deficit, but Roma were completely outclassed and overwhelmed in Ukraine. A goal from Eduardo and a brilliant brace from the standout player of the night, Willian Borges da Silva, sealed Roma's exit. Shakhtar Donetsk then faced Barcelona in the quarter-finals, but Guardiola's side proved too strong, knocking them out. Despite the elimination, it was a hugely successful season for Shakhtar, as they secured the Ukrainian League, Ukrainian Cup, and Ukrainian Super Cup, along with their Champions League run. Top clubs were bound to pursue their rising stars, especially their maestro, Willian. Just months after playing a crucial role in the demolition of AS Roma during their historic Champions League run, he was named the Ukrainian League's best player of the season. Arsene Wenger of Arsenal showed interest in the cornrowed-haired forward, while Chelsea's Carlo Ancelotti saw Willian as a potential asset for his squad. Pep Guardiola at Barcelona also admired the Brazilian talent. Behind the scenes, Chelsea players Ramirez, a fellow Brazilian, and his longtime friend David Luiz were actively persuading him to join them at Stamford Bridge, and Willian began to look forward to the opportunity. It wasn't until January 2012 that Chelsea made an official move, offering £16.5 million, but Shakhtar Donetsk rejected the bid. Shakhtar's assistant manager Alexandru Spiridon explained that Chelsea's offer didn't match their valuation of the player. He compared Willian to another player Chelsea were targeting at the time, Lille star Eden Hazard, valued at £33 million by the French club. Hazard had dominated League One for 2 seasons, earning 2 consecutive Player of the Year awards. But Shakhtar believed that in terms of talent, Willian was on par with the Lille talisman. I think the transfer fee offered by Chelsea does not match Willian's skill. You probably know from the internet that Eden Hazard's transfer value is £30 million. Chelsea offered £16.5 million for Willian. I do not think that Willian is weaker than Hazard, and in some components he is even stronger. The Brazil international had a £29 million release clause in his contract, but it was believed that a bid exceeding £20 million might be enough to lure him away from Donetsk. Shakhtar's chief executive, Sergei Palkin, admitted he was open to doing business with Chelsea for the right price. However, Chelsea hesitated to push for his signing, as Willian was cup-tied in the Champions League, making him ineligible to contribute to their campaign if signed. Additionally, the potential difficulties in securing a work permit led Chelsea to believe that finalizing the deal could prove more challenging than initially expected. In the summer of 2012, Lille star Eden Hazard became Chelsea's first signing for the new season, with the club paying £32 million to bring the Belgian to England. Champions League winning manager Roberto Di Matteo was eager to add the Shakhtar's number 10, who had spent the last 5 years with the Ukrainian club. However, the transfer fee once again proved to be a major obstacle. Shakhtar had been unable to replicate their stellar 2010-11 form in the 2011-12 season. Despite completing a domestic double by winning the Ukrainian Premier League and the Ukrainian Cup, they lost the Ukrainian Super Cup to FC Dynamo Kyiv and finished last in their Champions League group, leading to early elimination. This led many to believe that Shakhtar would ease their stance on allowing their top stars to leave. However, that wasn't the case with Willian. Shakhtar made it clear they still expected a fee similar to or close to Hazard's from Chelsea, as Willian was their biggest investment in a young player. Having signed him for a hefty €14 million from Corinthians when he was just 19, they aimed to make a significant profit from his transfer. "I told Willian he can leave, but only if the right offer is made," Lucescu said. "They paid a lot of money for Hazard, but are not willing to pay for Willian, even though he's better in my opinion. Chelsea want to buy the Brazilian, but made an offer for the Eastern European market. They offered €34 million, but we don't think that's his current value." Chelsea's London rivals Tottenham Hotspur joined the race, and interestingly, Andre Villas-Boas, the former Chelsea coach who tried signing Willian when he was the head coach at Chelsea, was the man looking to bring the Brazilian to the White Hart Lane. They tabled €11.8 million bid, but Shakhtar Donetsk rejected. Willian was growing unhappy with the club's tough negotiation stance. He begged the Ukrainian club not to block a move to White Hart Lane, saying, "Everyone knows that I want out. I'm here for 5 years, won many titles, so I hope they respect my will. I do not regret coming here, but this situation has been happening. With Chelsea trying to get me in January, and now Tottenham, we start to rethink." In the end, Willian had to accept that the Donbass Arena would remain his home as the 2012 summer transfer window closed, with neither London club securing his signature. The 2012-13 season marked his 6th in Ukraine, and Shakhtar Donetsk found themselves in the same Champions League group as Chelsea, Juventus, and Nordsjælland in Group E. The fixture against Chelsea in London offered the perfect opportunity for the afro-haired Samba star to audition in front of the very fans of the club that had hesitated to trigger his $29 million release clause. Chelsea, the reigning champions, and Juventus were expected to advance from the group. But there was a massive upset. As the group stage progressed, it initially seemed that Chelsea and Shakhtar Donetsk were the teams poised to qualify. Roberto Di Matteo's European champions drew their opening game with Juventus before routing Nordsjælland 4-0 in Copenhagen. Similarly, Shakhtar started strong with a 2-0 win over Nordsjælland at the Donbass Arena and then managed an impressive draw against Juventus in Turin. Defeats to Shakhtar and Juventus resulted in Chelsea's dramatic failure to progress from Group E, with Juventus and Shakhtar advancing instead. In Chelsea's first clash with Shakhtar at the Donbass Arena, Mircea Lucescu's men handed Di Matteo's side their first defeat of the competition. Alex Teixeira and Fernandinho gave the hosts a 2-0 lead, with Oscar grabbing a late consolation for Chelsea. 15 days later, Shakhtar visited Stamford Bridge. The man Lucescu had compared to Eden Hazard, Willian, was on the pitch, but as an opponent. Despite Willian being Shakhtar's number 10, a new star had emerged that season in Henrik Mkhitaryan, who was in unstoppable goal-scoring form. However, on that night, it was Willian who stole the spotlight. Fernando Torres gave Chelsea an early lead, but Willian soon equalised.
Great chance for Willian, equaliser for Willian. Well, that didn't take long, did it? Would normally spot them, and yes, it is Ivanovic. We've seen that before this season.
Oscar then restored Chelsea's advantage with a stunning long-range strike, but once again, Willian pulled the European champions back level. It wasn't until Victor Moses, 10 minutes after coming on as a substitute, scored that Chelsea secured a narrow 3-2 victory. With brace on the night, Willian passed the Chelsea audition, though it was a slim win for Chelsea. The Shakhtar Donetsk star appeared tailor-made for the ongoing Samba revolution at Chelsea, which had already taken root with the arrivals of David Luiz, Ramirez and Oscar. Chelsea and Tottenham were expected to renew their interest in Willian when the January transfer window opened, but surprisingly, they didn't make a move. What happened next shocked many.
Shakhtar Donetsk to Anzhi in the Russian Premier League. A very surprising move.
Shakhtar Donetsk confirmed a €35 million Euro deal had been agreed to sell playmaker Willian to big spending Anzhi.
On 31st January 2013, it was reported that Russian club Anzhi Makhachkala had signed Willian from Shakhtar Donetsk in a deal worth £30 million. The transfer sparked a significant divide in opinion, leaving many of his biggest admirers disappointed. By moving from Shakhtar to Anzhi, Willian seemed to have forfeited the chance to play for a club in one of Europe's top 4 leagues. Additionally, the Russian league wasn't widely covered in Brazil, meaning his performances wouldn't receive much attention back home. While Anzhi had ambitious plans to reach the top levels of European football, there were concerns that this project might take too long, potentially wasting some of Willian's peak years. Shakhtar's Romanian coach, Mircea Lucescu, shared similar sentiments, believing Willian's move was premature. To tell you frankly, I tried to convince him to stay because I think his decision is hasty and not thought out well enough. He is like a son to me. He came to Shakhtar almost as a child and leaves us as a 24-year-old man. I told him he would have achieved more with us when we said goodbye. Anzhi Makhachkala were backed by Dagestani billionaire Suleiman Kerimov, who had the vision of turning the club into a significant force on the European stage. After purchasing the club in 2011, Kerimov wasted no time in the transfer market, aggressively targeting both talented prospects and experienced players to inject a winning mentality into the squad, as he sought to elevate the Yellow Minnows into serious contenders in Russia and Europe. Willian's time in Russia was brief, lasting just 6 months. By August 2013, following a financial restructuring at Anzhi Makhachkala, the club decided to transfer list their entire squad. Once again, Willian was on the market, and interest from England quickly emerged. Tottenham Hotspur's Andre Villas-Boas was keen to bring Willian to White Hart Lane as a replacement for Gareth Bale, who was heavily linked with Real Madrid. Meanwhile, Liverpool's Brendan Rodgers was searching for a creative addition to his squad after missing out on their top target, Henrik Mkhitaryan, earlier that summer, when Mkhitaryan chose to join Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea were also monitoring the situation, with Jose Mourinho seeing Willian as a perfect fit for his style of football. Chelsea's interest initially seemed uncertain, and with options between Liverpool and Tottenham, Willian opted to join Spurs. Tottenham chairman Daniel Levy, normally careful with his spending, was already making big moves in the market in anticipation of Gareth Bale's exit, signing players like Paulinho and Roberto Soldado. Willian appeared to be next. However, preoccupation with completing Bale's record-breaking transfer to Real Madrid delayed Willian's deal. The Brazilian spent 2 weeks in London waiting for Tottenham to finalise his move, but this window of time allowed Chelsea to swoop in and hijack the deal. On the very day Willian was set to sign his contract with Spurs, Chelsea re-entered the race. They contacted Willian's agent, Kia Joorabchian, expressing their desire to sign him. When Joorabchian informed Willian, his immediate response was, "Okay, I want to go there." Roman Abramovich made a personal call to his fellow Russian oligarch, Suleiman Kerimov, the owner of Anzhi Makhachkala, to ensure that Willian would be sold to Chelsea. To Tottenham's frustration, Willian was on his way to Stamford Bridge for a slightly higher fee than what Spurs had offered. And just like that, Chelsea sealed the deal, leaving Spurs empty-handed. On August 28, 2013, Chelsea completed the signing of the Brazilian forward for £30 million. Tottenham firmly believed that Chelsea didn't truly want Willian, but had moved for him to block Andre Villas-Boas from building a squad capable of challenging them in the Premier League. With Mourinho already having a wealth of options in attacking midfield, Eden Hazard, Oscar, Andre Schürrle, Juan Mata, Kevin De Bruyne and Victor Moses, the feeling at Tottenham was that Willian wasn't really needed at Chelsea. However, Chelsea denied these claims, insisting they had always been interested in signing Willian.
It's Willian and Fairman's lost it. Chelsea into one. And they've got one foot in every single.
Willian is in, and this one is going to count. And look what it means. Chelsea needed a hero. Chelsea have found one. And we're just a tiny bit of time to go. They lead Everton by a goal to nil. 89 minutes on the clock.
Willian's first season at Chelsea was more about adaptation and learning, as returning manager Jose Mourinho gradually integrated him into the starting 11 through a series of substitute appearances. Mourinho favored his compatriot Oscar as the number 10, while also suggesting that club talisman Juan Mata needed to adjust to a wider role and improve his defensive work rate. Though Mata was blessed with exceptional technique, vision, and goal-scoring ability, Willian brought a different dimension to the game. His work rate, whether it was fulfilling defensive responsibilities, aiding the attacking midfielders in pressing high up the pitch, or launching quick counterattacks, impressed Mourinho and provided the team with the necessary balance to compete with the league's top teams. As a result, Willian became Mourinho's preferred option on the right wing, which ultimately led to Mata's departure from the club in the winter transfer window of 2014 due to a lack of playing time. In his first season, Willian contributed to 13 goals. However, he was overshadowed by teammate Eden Hazard, who elevated his performance during his second season in England, finishing as Chelsea's top scorer with 17 goals as the team secured third place in the league. Hazard was also named the Premier League's best young player. With Mata already transferred to Manchester United, it was clear that Hazard had emerged as Chelsea's new talisman. The following season was a highly successful one for Chelsea, as Jose Mourinho guided them to a domestic double, securing both the Premier League title and the League Cup. Willian was largely amazing, but consistency was a problem and was at times criticised by fans. But he once again emerged as Mourinho's preferred option on the right wing, beating out competition from André Schürrle, Mohamed Salah and Juan Cuadrado. While Willian caused havoc down the right flank, Hazard did the same on the left, with Diego Costa finishing chances up front. But throughout the season, Hazard was the standout performer, delivering his most consistent campaign since joining Chelsea in 2012. He carried much of the team's creative burden, dazzling with his dribbling, inventive passing, and crucial goals, which earned him the spotlight as the team's brightest star. Up to this point, many Chelsea fans felt Willian hadn't fully justified the hefty price the club paid to sign him from Anzhi. Although his tireless work rate on the pitch made up for his lack of goals, supporters were eager to see him add more decisive contributions, particularly in terms of scoring and deciding games on his own like Hazard, something he managed to do the following season. Unfortunately for Chelsea, their title defense turned into a disaster. The team experienced a dramatic burnout, one that even the harshest skeptics couldn't have predicted. Star player Eden Hazard arrived for pre-season overweight and struggled to regain his form, while Spanish striker Diego Costa lost his scoring touch. With the team's top players underperforming, the burden of responsibility had to fall on someone else. Rather than simply inheriting it, Willian seized the moment. In what became a catastrophic campaign for Chelsea, Willian remarkably soared higher than ever before. As the club's season collapsed around him, he grew stronger with each passing week. His growing influence in the Premier League became impossible to ignore, as he delivered one dazzling performance after another. Willian's first 3 goals of the season all came from long-range, curling free kicks. These weren't just moments of luck. They cemented his status as Chelsea's free kick specialist. After Southampton, Newcastle and Maccabi Tel Aviv fell victim to his early, more serendipitous strikes, Porto, Dynamo Kiev, and Maccabi Tel Aviv once again were subjected to his more refined, expertly delivered dead ball efforts. His influence wasn't limited to set pieces. Willian also tormented Premier League defenses in open play. By the end of the season, he had scored 11 goals, reaching double digits for the first time in his career, and added 7 assists. While his tally didn't quite match Hazard or Costa's from the previous season, Willian had undoubtedly stepped up as Chelsea's creative focal point. Though his efforts weren't enough to prevent Chelsea from enduring one of their worst league finishes in 2 decades, Willian's individual performances was acknowledged. He was named Chelsea's Fans Player of the Year and Players Player of the Year for the 2015-16 season, a clear testament to his emergence as one of the team's key figures. The following season, when Antonio Conte took over and Chelsea bounced back and won the league again, Willian's game time limited under the Italian manager, He mostly preferred Pedro Rodriguez completing his attacking trident with Eden Hazard and Diego Costa, though Willian continued to contribute when called upon. Once again, the Blues' title defence under Conte faltered, though it ended on a high note for Chelsea with an FA Cup triumph at Wembley, offering some redemption. Willian, much like during Chelsea's struggles in 2015-16, emerged as one of the few consistent bright spots, delivering standout performances that kept the team competitive. He dropped one of his finest games in a Chelsea shirt that season in the UEFA Champions League round of 16 first-leg clash against Barcelona at Stamford Bridge. Willian was nearly unstoppable that night, twice striking the woodwork in the first half before finally breaking through with a precise low shot in the second half to give Chelsea a deserved 1-0 lead. Although Barcelona equalised through Lionel Messi after an Andreas Christensen mistake, Willian's performance was widely lauded, earning him the Man of the Match award. Unfortunately for Chelsea, they were eliminated after a 3-0 defeat in the second leg at Camp Nou. Willian's efforts were recognised at the end of the season when he was named Chelsea's Players' Player of the Year, underscoring his importance even in a tumultuous campaign. But aside the disappointment, the season was marred by internal tensions between Antonio Conte and some of his players, notably Willian, which surfaced towards the end of the season. During Chelsea's FA Cup semi-final win against Southampton, Willian couldn't hide his frustration when he walked straight off the pitch and into the tunnel after being substituted by Conte. This incident was perceived as a show of disrespect by the Italian. Willian only started one game for Chelsea after that FA Cup semi-final and didn't appear until the 89th minute in the final, where Chelsea defeated Manchester United. In what seemed like a thinly veiled swipe at Conte, Willian posted a picture of the FA Cup victory celebrations on Instagram, covering the image of Conte. Throughout that season, rumours of Willian's potential move to Manchester United to reunite with Jose Mourinho persisted. It was said that if Antonio Conte continued at Chelsea, he would leave. But the Italian was clearly on a borrowed time at Chelsea after the miserable title defence. He was sacked after the season after they finished fifth and missed Champions League football. Willian later criticised Conte for his management style, saying, "For me, Conte was a manager who was very difficult to work with. His philosophy, his way of dealing with things is very complicated. There were a few games, sometimes we just don't understand. You're playing very well, then you get substituted. I do not understand. There were 2 times when I got substituted, and I went straight to the locker room." After the 2018 World Cup, Barcelona approached Chelsea to inquire about signing Willian. The departures of club legend Andrés Iniesta and Brazilian midfielder Paulinho left the Catalan giants needing to bolster their attack, and coach Ernesto Valverde was eager to add Willian to his options. But Chelsea rejected Barcelona's whopping £55 million offer, as they wanted to retain Willian at Stamford Bridge nonetheless. Barcelona's pursuit ended when they signed Willian's compatriot Malcolm from Bordeaux. Unfortunately, Malcolm struggled to break into the Barcelona team, prompting the club to renew their interest in Willian in January 2019. They proposed a swap deal, offering Malcolm to Chelsea in exchange for Willian, but this was also turned down. As a result, Willian remained at Chelsea, helping the team finish third in the Premier League and win the Europa League under manager Maurizio Sarri. It was also the final season for Willian's attacking partner, Eden Hazard, who had enjoyed a close on-field connection with him. The Belgian star left Chelsea for Real Madrid in a highly anticipated transfer. Willian took over the number 10 shirt after Eden Hazard's move to Real Madrid, stepping out of the Belgian's shadow. This change had a positive impact on Willian, who emerged as one of the standout performers during the 2019-20 season, which turned out to be his best in terms of goals and assists. He finished with 9 goals and 7 assists, playing a key role in Frank Lampard's first season as manager, which featured many players from Chelsea's academy. However, this would be Willian's final season with the club. After 7 years at Stamford Bridge, where he won 2 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Europa League, Willian left Chelsea on a free transfer after failing to reach an agreement on a contract extension. One title that eluded him during his time at Chelsea, the prestigious UEFA Champions League, was won by the club the following season under German manager Thomas Tuchel, who took over from Frank Lampard months into the campaign. Willian subsequently joined Arsenal but struggled to make an impact there, leaving after just one season. He later expressed regret about leaving Chelsea.
Do you sort of wish you'd never left?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wish I never left. Yeah, of course it's easy to say now something.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I've stopped thinking, to think about all the situation, yeah, I say to myself, yeah, I wish I never left, So.
He was a vital player for every coach during his time at the club, regardless of their tactical approach. Having spent much of his time at Chelsea operating in Eden Hazard's shadow, his outstanding contributions, particularly in the 2015-16 season, are frequently highlighted as evidence of his status as one of the greatest Brazilian players to represent the club.